This world of fantasy is filled with different beings such as beasts, fairies, spirits, and even humans. However, the creature that stands above all is the dragon, which is also very rare. Before one encounters a dragon, most beings have a place they call home. We see a slime couple checking a house out after being informed of the perks by an elf who is also a real estate agent. The couple decides to rent the place. Elsewhere, a dragon named Letty is kicked out of the family because some thieves stole a dragon egg on his watch. Letty is seen standing alone on the plains, thinking of how he will be turned into a meat snack if a hunter finds him. Letty is not confident in himself because his stats are so low, and the worst of all the stats is his luck, running on -7, which spells trouble for the young dragon. Letty realizes that the only way he can survive out here in the world is to find himself a home. So he begins his journey to find a nice, peaceful place to live. Letty soon finds some dwarves and asks them to build him a house, because dwarves are known to build houses. His assumption turns out to be wrong when the dwarves capture him and throw him in a cage. Thinking of ways to eliminate Letty and sell his organs and body parts, Letty starts to think of ways to escape to avoid being the dwarves' meal. He tricks the dwarves into believing someone is after their gold and quickly uses the opportunity to break out of his cage, running as fast as his legs could carry him just to stay alive. After escaping from the dwarves, he finds some harpies who tell Letty that he can live with them in their nest. It doesn't take long for Letty to realize that it won't be possible for him because he doesn't have the skill to fly yet. The harpies then send him to the goblins to see if they can help him. Letty finds the goblins, who want to make him their food, but he quickly tells them that the harpies sent him. He explains his plight, but they too cannot help him with his lack of accommodation. Letty finds a Sahir region that invites him to its home inside the lake, but Letty realizes that he can't swim either. The creature then tells him to head east where he will find an elf named Daria who is into real estate. Letty sets out to find the elf and unfortunately stumbles upon a team of heroes who start to bully him until someone shows up and defeats the heroes. It turns out Letty's savior is the elf he is looking for. With this, Letty and Daria begin the epic journey to find Letty a home. Daria tells Letty that he has the option to buy a house, build a house, or rent one. Letty checks out Daria's card and discovers he is given a Dark Lord title. Daria says they need to find Letty a home where the heroes will not be able to disturb him again, adding that heroes are more fearsome and menacing than hunters. Daria informs Letty that it is time to start looking for a suitable home for him. The elf teleports them to a temple where Letty can stay. Upon entering, the elf tells Letty that there are several traps inside the building to prevent heroes or hunters from disturbing him if he should decide to stay there. However, Letty changes his mind when he can't help but fall into every single one of the traps set inside the house. While in the house, some hunters find them, but they are no match for the powerful elf who wipes them out. After leaving the house, Daria tells Letty that the next house they will check out has been built over 200 years ago. However, there is an upside. He will never get lonely while staying there. Daria teleports them to the mansion of the dead. Letty is starting to fall in love with the house until he discovers that he will be living with ghosts. Letty gets scared and screams at the top of his lungs. Later on, Letty finds out that the owner of the house is a ghost by the name of Lord Samuel. Lord Samuel was betrayed many years ago by his close friends. He eliminated himself, and he and his followers came back as ghouls to wipe out all who had betrayed him. Letty sees that Lord Samuel is nice, but can't stay there because he is scared of ghosts. Before leaving, Samuel and Daria have a conversation about a dragon who was once his friend. Samuel says goodbye to Letty and wishes him luck on his adventure to find a home. The journey to find Letty a home continues, and Daria says he needs to make a stop somewhere before they continue. When Letty hears that they are going to the crone's lair, he gets scared again. The elf shows Letty a satchel capable of holding different items and reveals that he has their beds stored inside. Shortly afterward, they arrive at the cavern of Abuela. The elf tells Letty that the sisters living inside the cave have been in business for over 1,000 years. Daria introduces Letty to the Grayish sisters, who are skillful craftsmen and frequent buyers. Letty is stunned when he enters their domain. There are lots of things in their possession that Letty could practically ask for anything he wants and would get it. Letty sees a fireplace that he loves, and the elf suggests he could build a house with a fireplace. The elf takes Letty to a location where he can build his house. To cover the cost of the house, Letty brings out his baby tooth. The elf says dragon teeth are expensive, but Letty's baby teeth don't count as much. However, the elf tells Letty not to worry about the cost for now, saying it will sort itself out later. Daria summons a group of gnomes and ogres to help build the house. Soon, the group gets down to construction, and the dragon tries to help, but he has no construction skills. Soon afterward, Letty's new house is ready. Daria then tells Letty that all that is left is for the heroes to come and attack. They will defeat the heroes and collect their gear, which would be sold and used as gradual payments for the house. The elf summons some beasts to help provide security for the house, saying he needs to leave and will come back at intervals to check on the dragon. Later on, Letty is relaxing in the room when he hears struggling outside. He discovers that the guards have just defeated the heroes looking for him. They collect their equipment and send them away. Rumors spread that the dragon defeated the heroes, prompting vulnerable beings to troop into the house to make it their safe haven, giving Letty the title of the Great Flame Dragon Lord. This is overwhelming for Letty, who leaves the house. The elf soon finds him, and Letty says all he needs is just a quiet place to live a peaceful life. Letty adds that he is well aware that everyone means well, but he can't cope with the pressure. The elf tells Letty that he is willing to find him a home, even if it takes 100 years to do so. Daria reveals that his last dragon friend also took so long before getting a home of his choice, but elves age slowly, so age doesn't affect Daria. Letty finally uses Daria's magic to say goodbye to all the inhabitants of his house. To find Letty a peaceful house, the elf takes him to the icy plains and makes a coat for Letty to keep him warm in the harsh weather, telling the dragon that the environment is home to the Yetis and that he would have to build his own igloo. Letty is handed a shovel and a building plan to follow, meaning there is no cost for building. Shortly afterward, Letty is done with construction. The elf tells him he needs to go and let the dragon try to survive on his own, promising to return in 3 days to check on him. While Letty is gathering firewood, he sees some deer and concludes they would be good for dinner. The problem is that he can't hunt, which turns bad for him when the deer chase him around the plains. Letty tries his luck against other animals, but the story remains the same. It starts to snow, and Letty can't find his way home. He gets stuck in the ice and falls asleep, dreaming of being inside a warm igloo. He soon realizes it was all in his head. Waking up, Letty sees an egg, and the urge to eat it sets in, but he controls himself and decides to keep the egg. Suddenly, the ice breaks, and Letty is stranded at sea. A whale appears behind him and swallows him. Letty wakes up to see Davy Jones beside him, who tells him he is inside the whale. Davy Jones shows him around, and Letty concludes that the insides of the whale make a nice home because they have all they need. However, Letty starts thinking of Daria and how to return the egg to its parents. Davy Jones tells him the only way out is through the blowhole. Letty is strapped to a chair, and when the whale sneezes, he is thrown out, landing on an iceberg and getting lonely again. He sees a cute seal and decides not to eat it, but it turns out the seal is Daria, who transforms back into himself, saying a Selkie gave him the pelt that allows him to turn into a seal. Daria informs Letty that he doesn't have the survival instincts to survive in the icy plains. Later, the egg hatches and a little bird emerges, calling Letty Papa. The elf teleports them out of the icy plains to another location he believes would be good for Letty. Daria informs Letty that the bird is imprinted on him, and that's why he is called Papa. The bird is a Velker chick. Velker birds are giant eagles with an affinity for cold environments. To make the chick comfortable, Daria teleports them to the icy plains to gather some ice. Letty tells the elf he might not be cut out to take care of the chick, so they decide to find the chick a new home. They go to a communal community where diverse beings live to find the chick a parent willing to adopt him. The community is safe because the landlords take care of any threats. They reach the first candidate's home, but the chick makes a loud noise that prompts rejection. The second candidate is not suitable either because she is very aggressive. The third candidate also proves to be a no-go because his children are too aggressive. Letty runs into two of the Korpucker that came to live in the house he built earlier on. They offer to adopt the chick, but when Letty realizes that they came to sell a wild fowl that they killed, he changes his mind and runs off. They find a fourth candidate, but Letty is not comfortable with the way the candidate is planning to raise the chick. After failing to find a capable person to raise the chick, Letty sits down to think of what to do next. The elf informs him that the birds usually lay their eggs inside the snow, and the chick must have drifted off from the others. Daria says if Letty hadn't found the egg, some other creatures would have eaten it. The elf suggests that Letty raise the chick as his own. Letty finally agrees to raise the chick when he realizes that he would do anything to protect it. The elf asks him what he plans to name the chick. Letty calls the chick Pip because of the sound it makes. The elf informs Letty that they will have to start looking for family-friendly houses. Up next, Letty has spent all the money he has to buy food for Pip, and he is now broke. The elf says Letty will have to do some jobs to earn money. He informs Letty that the demand for dragons is high in the market. Daria takes them to the trade market of Pecunia. Letty is scared when he gets there, but the elf assures him that no one can hurt him when he is inside the market. Anyone who tries to commit any crime is usually jailed. Daria takes Letty to a manager, Armin, to help them look for a job to do. Letty is given the job to cut blocks from trees and rocks. After so much work and stress, Letty is paid just a small amount of money. Letty is then given another job at a motel. However, all the customers run away when they see a dragon as the receptionist. Letty cries for another job, and Daria suggests that they find one that only a dragon can do. A mage hires Letty to work for him. The mage is promised to summon a dragon for his next performance, and that's where Letty comes in. At the performance, Letty shows up as Land, but the spectators demand a demonstration of his power. Letty is about to be embarrassed, but Pip saves the day when he gives out a loud roar that knocks all of them down. Because of this great performance, Letty is paid a handsome reward. Later on, a magician says he needs a dragon. He wants to test if his new spell will pierce the dragon's body. Letty is scared that he will die from the experiment, but unknown to him, the elf has put a defense spell on him. While the experiment is going on, an acquaintance of Daria, Lilith, arrives to have a chat with him. They talk about the days when the elf was chosen as the Dark Lord. Apparently, Daria was chosen by the beasts as the Dark Lord. The first Dark Lord was in charge of unifying the beasts, and this has made the title a very important one. However, Daria refused the title when he was chosen. He believes the title is now a figurehead and doesn't have any important role anymore. They forced the title on the elf, but he managed to escape from the castle on the day of his inauguration. It is revealed that Daria's former dragon friend is black, while our young sweet Letty is red. Moments later, the experiment is concluded, and Letty receives a good payment for the job. Daria says he needs to go and gather supplies. He tells Letty to go to the market square and wash himself. After washing himself, a man comes over to Letty and asks if he can do a job for him on the outskirts of the town. He promises to pay handsomely. Meanwhile, Letty has informed the elf that humans are gathering outside the town after hearing that a dragon is in the market. They have plans to capture the dragon outside the town because they can't do so when they are inside the trading center. Letty follows the man to the outskirts of the town and soon finds himself surrounded. Letty and Pip are pushed into a cage and driven off to an unknown location. Letty finds himself in a cage and starts to panic. He tries to cut open the cage with his teeth, but it doesn't work out. He is soon approached by an arobas named Steve. Steve opens the cage, and Letty is surprised it was never locked. Steve takes Letty to meet the rest of the prisoners. A short introduction occurs, and Steve explains the details of the situation to him. He is informed that the guards are nice to them, and they even play cards together. The guards also help them take care of any heroes that might want to enter the area. He is taken around the prison, and Letty is surprised that the prisoners are so comfortable that they don't even want to escape. Moments later, the bell for work rings. Letty soon finds out that the prison is also an arena. Letty is to fight the Skeleton Brothers. The match begins, and Letty starts to run around the arena until he luckily swings his tail and breaks the Skeleton Brothers. He is declared the winner of the match, and he later finds out that the Skeleton Brothers can just put themselves back together. Steve then informs Letty that the Margrave that owns the arena treats them very well. All their matches are also fixed to bring more profit for the Margrave. Shortly afterward, Letty thinks Pip is missing until one of the guards appears with Pip. The guard tells him that Pip went for an ice-cold bath before sleeping. Letty believes that Daria will be looking for him. Unknown to him, Daria is out there having fun. 10 days later, the guards come over to inform the beasts that the kind Margrave is dead. The eldest son has inherited the estate and has decided to eliminate all the beasts. He has hired mercenaries to do the job for him. Steve says there is an aqueduct that runs under the arena that leads outside. They are to follow the aqueduct and escape. However, they will leave behind a distraction team to allow the rest of the group to escape without any hitch. Letty starts to panic when he is selected to be on the distraction team. The mercenaries soon enter, and the distraction team begins their work. They take care of the mercenaries, and when they are about to escape, they realize that there are still mercenaries left. They are surrounded and about to be harmed when Daria arrives and wipes out the assailants. Daria helps everyone to escape the arena. The guards also go with the beasts, and when Daria asks if Letty wants to follow them, he says no because he plans to find a nice home to raise Pip. Daria also does his job as the demon lord and has reported the new Margrave to the other lords for punishment. The party continues their journey, but Letty begins to suffer from exhaustion. Daria suggests he takes a nap, and he can curse while he is sleeping. Pip asks Letty if he can explore the surroundings, and Daria allows him. While he is playing around, Pip finds a leprechaun crying because he lost his friend at home. Pip helps the leprechaun to find his friend, and he also helps them secure a shoe to live in. The leprechauns are grateful, and they thank Pip for his help. Letty later wakes up and starts looking for Pip, believing that he is lost. Moments later, Pip returns home, and Letty couldn't be happier. Daria says Pip will soon be old enough to regulate his own body temperature and won't need Letty to provide ice for him again. Letty scolds Daria for allowing Pip to go out on his own, but Daria points out that Letty is being overprotective. He needs to leave Pip and let him explore his surroundings a little. Daria then tells Letty and Pip about his childhood story. He says the elves retreated to the branches of the world tree many years ago to avoid intervening in human affairs. Daria begins to narrate that he was a boy who has always loved to gain more knowledge. After his parents saw that he was too curious, he was sent to the great serpent Jormungandr. The great serpent became his master, and Daria had to live in the harsh weather conditions of the north. Daria informed the great serpent about his quest for knowledge. He started to learn about philosophy, biology, and other things there are to know. However, a problem arose because his master always destroyed his house due to its enormous size. Daria tried to use different building materials to try and see which one would withstand his master's strength, but he never found any. Even the Grey Sisters provided him with building materials, but none seemed to be durable enough. He finally found a solution when he decided to use lighter building materials to build his house on the serpent's head. This finally proved to be the only solution to his house problem. Later on, he was inducted as the Dark Lord, and not long after, the Black Dragon came knocking. The Black Dragon introduced himself as Varney and said he had been looking for the Dark Lord. Varney revealed that the Dark Lord agency pointed him in the way of Daria. Daria said he had heard of Varney because most people were scared of him. Varney informed Daria that he wanted a house and asked for help. Daria initially refused, but later agreed when his master told him to help the dragon out. His master hoped that Daria would be able to see the world much better during his journey with Varney. At the start of their journey, the dragon and elf made a pit stop at one of the heroes' guilds. The dragon wiped out all of them, and the elf used his magic to send the men to the church. When the report came out, it was written that it was the elf who defeated the heroes. Daria suggests that Varney use the guild as his home, but he refuses. This starts their 100-year journey of looking for a suitable house, making Varney furious and jealous that they didn't know he was the one who defeated the heroes. Soon afterward, Varney decides to attack all the forts and castles they see to be able to find suitable building material for his house. Daria hopes that with all their destructive experiments, they will know the type of materials to use in building Varney's house. Daria records all the experiment results inside his book for future reference. Later on, Daria and Varney get into a verbal altercation. Daria complains that Varney doesn't appreciate all he does for him. During their altercation, Daria realizes that all Varney wants is a good home to raise his family. Varney says he is getting old and needs to raise a family of his own. However, he can't do that in a poor house. He needs a durable and comfortable house to raise his family. Upon hearing this, the elf realizes that Varney is actually a good person, but is acting aggressively because of the pressure on him. The elf then agrees to stay with him until he gets a house of his choice, wanting to use the opportunity to learn more about the world. Back in the present day, Daria tells Pip and Letty that he will continue the story another time. Letty voices his wish to find a good home too. Up next, it is revealed that a skilled hunter and his apprentice have been tracking Letty. They are following his trail and almost caught up to him at the temple, but they were too late. They later find the house he built, but abandoned for the other vulnerable beasts. They hear the guards in charge of security at the house talking about how Letty has gone to prepare himself for world domination. They add that Letty is so powerful that just his breath can destroy a whole castle. The hunter hears them calling Letty the Flame Dragon Lord, creating more urgency in him. The hunter immediately visits a guild and asks the secretary to print posters and send them to every other guild, wanting everyone to be careful of Letty because he is planning to dominate the world. Later on, the hunter finally catches up to Letty. He and his assistant lay in ambush, waiting for Letty to show up so they can capture him. They see some bandits passing by, and Letty stops them. The hunter decides not to attack Letty when he witnesses him burn the bandits to a crisp with his dragon fire. The hunter and his assistant leave, promising to capture the dragon later. The camera then shifts to where Letty is standing, and we finally discover that Daria was the one who created the fire with his magic. He is also aware that the hunter has been following them for some time now. Letty and Daria decide to check what the bandits were transporting. They open one of the crates to find a girl who was kidnapped by the bandits. The girl wakes up and screams when she sees a dragon standing right in front of her, accusing Letty of kidnapping her. Daria informs her that he is taking care of the bandits that kidnapped her. The girl introduces herself as the daughter of an important person, but they couldn't catch most of what she said because it was too long. The girl tells the elf that she does not wish to return home. She wants the elf to find her a glass house that also contains a bath. Daria accepts her request and takes her to a cave with a natural bath, but she gets angry that Daria doesn't understand her. Daria takes her to several locations with baths, but she doesn't seem to be okay with any of the choices. Later on, Letty prepares a bath for her in his cooking pot. While she is having her bath, the girl tells Letty that she ran away from home because her father ate her cupcake without her permission. Letty is taken aback at how spoiled the girl is. The girl formally thanks Letty for saving her from the bandits. Moments later, a group of heroes appears from the other side. It is then revealed that the girl is a princess. They believe that Letty kidnapped her. Daria arrives and takes care of them. The girl tells Letty and Daria that she mentioned being a princess, but they didn't pay attention. She then tells the party they can call her Nell. Letty is busy trying to sort out his next tour location when a djinn from the non-human Internal Revenue Office arrives, informing Letty that he needs to pay income tax. Letty has left home and has been independent, but hasn't paid any tax. The djinn says there is a tax office nearby where he can file his tax report. Letty gets to the office and is asked to fill out a form. When Nell sees his stat card, she almost faints. She can't believe that Letty actually calls himself a dragon with such poor stats. While filling out the form, Daria tells him not to forget about the house he built. Daria tells the djinn that Letty built the house, but has given it away. After going through all his documents and properties, he finds out how much his tax will be. The djinn then informs him that there are allocations set aside for parents, and Letty is eligible. He will be given child allowances to care for Pip. Later on, Daria informs Letty that the next property they will check is under the Royal Capital Sewer System, meaning their next location is directly under Nell City. They soon reach the dungeon, which they want to explore. Daria says humans built the dungeons years ago for heroes to have their training inside. Daria also adds that Letty would need to become a public servant if he is to live in the dungeon. Letty is scared that he will run into heroes inside the dungeon, but Daria says the dungeon is closed for the day. Letty, Daria, and Nell enter the dungeon to explore. The dungeon is so big that it takes them a long time to find the boss area. They finally find it and discover they need some stone reliefs to open the door. Nell sees a stone sitting on a stool and concludes it is one of the stones they need to open the door to the boss's area. The moment she lifts the stone, the ceiling starts to come down on them. Thankfully, Pip manages to find a secret passageway out of the room, and they narrowly escape being crushed to death. Letty and Nell see a ladder and decide to follow it. They reach the top, and Nell freezes up when it dawns on her that they just made their way into the royal palace. After Letty and Nell enter the castle, they find out that most of the knights and the king have gone on a mission to find Nell. Some heroes find Letty and start chasing him around the castle, but Daria shows up at the right time and takes care of them. Shortly afterward, the king receives word that the dragon is holding his daughter hostage inside the castle. The king returns with all his knights and surrounds the palace, demanding that Letty return his daughter. Unknown to him, everything is a misunderstanding. Nell tells Letty and Daria that she is not ready to go back to her father. Daria decides to mount a line of defense against the knights. They seal all doors leading inside the palace except the one connecting to the drawbridge where the soldiers try to enter the castle. Daria hires gnomes to shoot stone pelts at them. They believe the soldiers will give up and leave, but they soon realize the king is not ready to give up. Once it gets late, the gnomes abandon their positions and leave, giving the soldiers the opportunity to breach the castle. Later that night, the king begs the dragon to release his daughter, saying no treasure compares to his daughter. When Nell hears these words, she is moved to tears but still not ready to return to her father. I cannot believe this girl is holding a grudge because of a cupcake. Moments later, the soldiers breach the castle. The king sees Letty and chases him down to a room. Upon entering, the room is sealed with a magic spell. The king finds his daughter inside the room, and the two have a heart-to-heart discussion. Nell finally forgives her father for eating her cupcake when he promises to get better. Nell then explains everything to her father, and the king thanks Letty for saving his daughter. Nell says she wants to follow Letty on his house-hunting adventure, but the king refuses. Meanwhile, the soldiers are trying to open the door to prevent a clash between the soldiers and the dragon. The king gives Letty a fairy dust potion, saying it will allow him to fly until the magic wears off. Letty takes the potion, and Nell kisses him on the forehead. They promise to see each other in the future. The potion works, and Letty gains the temporary ability to fly, excited that this is the first time he will be flying. He says goodbye to Nell and flies Daria and Pip out of the castle. As they fly away, the king wishes them well. Nell also reminds him to land before the magic wears off. During the flight, Letty says some exact words that Varney spoke to Daria during their journey together. Varney once told Daria that the world is a very fascinating place to be.